Giving people an opportunity to connect here. Okay, so I'm going to call our meeting to order. Today is March 9th, 2021. This portion of our meeting is a joint meeting with the North Kingstown Audit Committee. So the easiest thing is, because I'm not certain, not everyone has names and everything, who the Audit Committee folks all are. I've got two people, it looks like, on cell phones that are calling in, and I'm going to unmute, or at least try to unmute you folks. And Mr. Miller, are you able to speak at this point?
I am.
Okay, so we've got you. I've got what looks like another cell phone person who's called in. But I don't see, I've allowed them to unmute, but I don't hear anyone other than you.
Are you looking at 294-1338?
Oh,
No,
okay,
I think it might be Mr. August.
yes,
Hello?
yes. I'm sorry I have to use the phone, but I had a little computer problem today, and I just didn't want to have a problem
Nope.
during the meeting, so I
No problem,
apologize.
we've got you. Okay, so I think we're in good shape. So, we've called our meeting to order at this point, and on our agenda we have a discussion with you folks. This is our, per charter, annual meeting with the Audit Committee to discuss the fiscal year 20 financial statements. And I didn't know if you folks had anything that you needed to bring to our attention.
Yes, first of all, let me say that our chairman, Jeff Wadovic, has a family commitment. His son is playing hockey, his last hockey game for North Kingstown High School as a state all-star. So Jeff is obviously going to attend that game, and he asked me as committee chairman to act as chairman pro tem, if you will. And first of all, we'd like to give a shout out to Steve Janelle and everybody in the controllers department for the excellent job last year in getting all the data together and working very successfully with our audit firm. Frankly, I had concerns during the fall that we wouldn't get this done by year end, but with the COVID problems and quarantines and people getting sick and so forth. But it was a very remarkable job on both the school department and the municipal side. On the finance people really deserve 2 thumbs up on that. So thank you very much to them. As far as the statements themselves go, you know that the comprehensive annual financial report has been published, and I found the statistical section quite interesting and perhaps worthy of some comment. The 10-year period ending June 30th, 2020, the average daily enrollment declined by 13.4%, while the average cost per student went from just under $14,000 a year to $18,754, which is an increase of 25.4%. So there seems to be an inverse relationship between the population that's being served and the cost, and I wonder if anybody would like to comment on that.
Well, I for one don't have any direct comment on it. You're looking at a 10-year period, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, so I mean...
I don't feel prepared to discuss that topic tonight. If I had known that was coming, Dick, I might have had something to say about it, but there are dozens of factors that go into per pupil expenditure, particularly over a 10-year time. So if you'd like to give me a call on that at some other time, I'd be happy to, but I'm not ready to answer that question tonight.
Okay. One of the things that does stand out, though, and this, as some of you know, is my second tour on the audit committee. And back in the first tour, there was a spotlight put on the cafeteria operations or food service, or however you choose to describe it. But once again, I noticed that the revenues are down by about 31%. The expenses also have been reduced, but not nearly to compensate, so that the cafeteria operation continues to run at a loss of about $600,000 a year. And I recall that the prior school committee made a decision to outsource the janitorial service, and so that was seen as a cost saving. I wonder if there's been any analysis or discussion with outside subcontractors to run the school cafeteria services and perhaps not experience.
Mr. August, two quick things.
Yeah.
One, I just want to make sure I make one point on your last statistic of the 25% over 10 years. I mean, that would average out to a 2.5% increase per year, which is pretty close to the cost of inflation. Am I missing something there?
Probably not.
Okay.
So you,
Can I jump in for
But,
a moment?
hold on, Dr. Auger, give me one more moment.
Sure.
So, I mean, I just want to quickly make that point, and I apologize. You know, had we known that these are very specific, you know, questions that you're raising that we didn't know you were going to be asking. So, not everyone here is prepared to answer them, you know, with data. But I know that Mrs. King, I think, had something to say about your numbers there, and Dr. Auger, I'll recognize you at this point as well. Sure.
Yeah, so, Mr. August, I appreciate your questions, but it is not my understanding that that's what this discussion is about tonight. Last year, we had a discussion purely about the auditor's report. But your questions tonight seem to be pointed in terms of issues you personally have with our budget.
no, that's not true. The agenda says discussion of the financial statements. These statistical tables are an integral part of the financial statement. That's why I prefaced my comment with the fact that I'm referring to the comprehensive annual financial report.
Okay. So, Mrs. King, did you
So-
have something
so
to
if
say
you're
about
not
the food
prepared-
service question?
Yeah, I do have
Yeah.
a comment to make on the food service fund, Mr. August. I would
Yeah.
ask that you take a look at that again because, first of all, that fund has never, ever, even in the days before massive changes were made to that contract, lost $600,000 a year. But since those changes have been made, the food service fund has had a surplus. They have not been in a deficit, and that is going on 10 years now. So I would ask that you take a look at those numbers again because that $600,000 per year is not right.
Okay, I'll be happy to do that, and I will direct those other questions to Dr. Auger and you know get back to us at when you have a chance to look at them. That's fine.
Sure.
Is there anybody else on the audit committee that's on, Kurt or Sally Lee? I'm not sure whether you're on or not. Does anybody else have any questions on the financial statements or comments?
The only comment I would be to echo your thanks to folks in the school department for helping get this done on a timely basis. We're still waiting, however, for the final single audit report, which will talk about internal controls and any noted deficiencies, and those would be more my points of discussion. And since we don't have these at this time, I don't have anything else to.
Well, actually, I believe Dr. Auger and Mrs. King probably have seen the draft.
I have seen the draft too, but I haven't seen management or the school department's responses. And I don't
Oh, they
think it's
haven't.
appropriate.
The school department has responded. We responded a week and a half ago. So why don't we talk about that? Why don't we talk about that comment?
I haven't seen, Ms. King, I haven't seen that comment yet, and I'd prefer to defer.
Yeah, and I just want to, Mrs. King, if I can wait for a moment, I don't really think it's appropriate to talk about an audit that is in draft form. I mean, if we don't have an audit from the auditors,
The audit is-
it's time to discuss it.
The audit.
The audit
Go ahead,
is
Kurt.
complete.
I'm sorry, the management
The audit
letter,
is complete. Yeah, you and I think the same way as, I think as management letter, they call it a single audit report here, and it talks about internal controls and deficiencies. That's the appropriate discussion for us to have with you, and absent, I know what those, I've only seen the draft, I haven't seen the final, so I think if there's anything significant in there, we might need to have a further discussion regarding those controls.
Yeah, I think that's correct. The audit is completed. The draft of the single audit contains their findings with respect to internal controls, and the audit manager told me by email this morning they had not received a reply from either the school department or the town side. So, as Mr. King says, that they responded a week and a half ago. Maybe there's just something lost in transition, but I do think a comment about internal controls is appropriate because once again they have found.
Dick?
Yeah.
My understanding from Kyle is that they have received the response from the school, but it was not as early as this morning, but they had not yet, when I last discussed with them, they had not yet gotten the response from the town. I've had some personal issues the last couple of weeks, so I'm not as up to date as I might like to be.
So,
I think that's correct. That's the town.
Any management, sorry, I'm using a different term, but in the single audit letter or management letter, whatever whatever they refer to it as, if there are any references to internal control issues in the final report, then by all means we should discuss those. But if it hasn't been issued yet, then I don't think it's time to talk about it because we don't know what it's going to say.
Well, you do know what it's going to say. You have the draft of the auditor side. What's missing is the response from management of both the school department and the town. Now, if the school department has responded and the town hasn't, they can't complete the report. Their findings are not going to change based on what the response is. And once again, this year,
So do you want to talk about so then do you want to talk about the comment for the school department? Because we can talk about it right now.
yeah, well, what they cite once again is, let's just review that, is the fact that they believe there's a material deficiency with respect to a schedule for month-end and year-end closing.
No, that is not at all. You need to go back and look at the response. So I had several conversations with Kyle Connors from the audit
Mary,
manager.
we have not, Dick and Mary, this is Kurt. I have not seen the response. And just as you are not prepared.
I'm prepared.
Committee side, please don't interrupt me. Just as the school committee has asked not to discuss matters which they're not prepared to talk about because they weren't warned in advance. I haven't seen the final report that includes the school department response. So I would prefer to get the final report from the auditors that includes both the school department's response and the town's response, and at that time we can talk about it.
And I think that's a very reasonable approach. And again, folks, regardless, Mr. August, I understand your point, but I just do not see why a communication from the auditor that may have been seen by you folks, but is in draft form, is something that we should be discussing until both sides have had a chance to respond and the actual final auditor's report is issued, which hasn't happened yet. So we can certainly revisit this. Are there any other questions anyone had?
Well, I just like, you keep saying that you have not seen this, but
No, I'm
you've
saying
seen
a
the draft,
final.
correct?
I'm saying a final.
Final report has
issued
not
by
been
the auditor.
issued. Okay. Agreed.
Okay. So, any other questions or items that we need to discuss?
In terms of internal control, yes, the audit committee on January 29th sent a letter to the school department, school committee and school department citing a concern over the separation of the general ledger and the lack of access by the town finance director. It may not be a material issue, but I want to go on record that we have expressed our concern about that, and you have received that correspondence.
Understood. We have. Thank you.
And you have no response to that either.
Well, sir, we've gone over this at a meeting, at our last joint meeting. We discussed it. I know that you folks have discussed it at length. I know you brought it to the attention of the town manager and the town solicitor. And it is my understanding that the solicitor is in agreement that there's nothing that the school department is not doing that they're legally required to do. And we've explained a number of times that there is no piece of financial information that we would not provide to the town of North Kingstown Finance Director or any other, appropriate town, person upon request. The difference of opinion between, you folks and the administration and frankly me as well comes down to whether or not the town finance director has a password and account to allow them to directly access the accounting software. That's the difference of opinion that we have, and I think it's going to remain a difference of opinion. It's not that we don't need the information, it's just that the finance director, at this time does not have a username and password to allow them to directly access the accounting software. We'll provide anything that they need.
Well, the reasons for that stance is not clear, but the fact is the audit committee is on the record expressing our concern, notwithstanding the solicitor's opinion that there doesn't seem to be a violation of state law. The town charter quite clearly says that the finance director should have the ability to look at and audit the records of any department in the town.
And upon request, we provide anything that he would ask for.
All right, well, I'm just saying the record stands, and if something happens down the road that's a problem, we didn't want anybody coming back and saying, hey, where were you guys? Where was the audit committee? Aren't you supposed to be looking at internal control aspect? We've notified you, and you're going to do what you're going to do.
Understood. Any other items?
Not for me. I don't know about. I don't know if Kurt. I'm not sure who all is on. I know Kurt is. Is Sarah Lee? Are you on?
Mr. Miller's the only other one.
Oh, okay. Mrs. Norton said she was coming on. Mr. Baumforth indicated he might, but if they're not there, then I have nothing further. I don't know if Kurt does.
Once again, thanks for the contributions it's been a huge improvement during my time on the audit committee in the timeliness of getting this done, and the school department has contributed in no small part to making that happen, as has the town finance department. So there are some internal control issues left over. I've been in this, not in the government world, but in the audit and financial world for a long time. Getting a completely clean management letter, as you can term, or single audit is a rare thing. I think that it would be a good discussion regarding the controls, because I think a couple of them are material, and further improvement is always possible. But once again, thanks for your contributions to improve the timing this year.
And likewise, I want to thank both of you and all the members of your committee for your time. I know you put a lot of work into what you do. Just because we have a difference of opinion doesn't mean that, we're not looking at what you're saying and taking your opinion into consideration, because we have. So if there's nothing else to discuss, then I think we've reached the end of this portion of our meeting. The school committee is going to have an executive session at 6:30 p.m. That we will recess for shortly, and then we will reconvene our public portion of our meeting at 7 o'clock for the balance of our agenda. So folks, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
You as well. Stay safe. So quickly, Mrs. Attorney Carroll, we could, is there any reason we can't start our executive session before 6:30, or do we have to wait till 6:30? Not sure if she's there.
Muted. Hold on. No, I'm sorry. I didn't realize I was muted. You
Sorry.
can start it now. We just can't start open until 7.
That's what I thought. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure we're okay there. All right, so what we're going to do then is we'll start our executive session a little early, having concluded that public portion of the meeting. Anyone who's watching, we're going to reconvene at around 7 o'clock. I think we'll probably be pretty close, and restart the open meeting. So at this point, I'd like to get a motion from a member for a motion that we recess to executive session for pursuant to Rhode Island General Law 42464 for a discussion of legal advice and litigation, which is 42462A2, and employee job performance. The individuals have been notified, including of their right to have a discussion held in open session, and that's Rhode Island General Law 42465A1.
So moved.
Okay, I'll give the motion to Mr. Mather. That was a three-way tie. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second to Ms. Hildebrand. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously, so we'll convene our executive session in a moment. I'm going to put anyone in the waiting room who's not in there already. The North Kingstown School Committee, if I could ask everyone to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Sure. Mr. Glasgow?
Here.
Mrs. Hildebrand?
Here.
Mrs. Hoskins?
Here.
Mrs. Lima? Here. Mr. Mather?
Here.
Mrs. Sharp?
I'm here.
Jacob Sedor?
Oh, I didn't unmute him, but I saw him before. Let me find him here. You can carry on, I believe. Yeah, he's here, so.
Owen Grace?
And I gotta find Owen too. All right.
Here.
There we
Here.
go.
You got him?
Yeah, and Mr. Cedar, Jacob is here too.
Terrific. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And if you could call the calendar, please.
Okay, the next school committee business meeting will be Tuesday, March 23rd. And a reminder, Friday, April 2nd is Good Friday. That's no school.
Thank you. So, presentations and recognitions?
Yes, Dr. Mansuri, would you like to start?
Sure, I just have a quick one. It's from the art department at the high school. At the Regional Scholastic Art Awards in January, Nicolette Goldstein won a gold key as well as an honorable mention. Other North Kingstown High School students that won honorable mentions were Mia Pintarelli, Jacqueline Bohat, Sean Leach, and Nicole Malloy. During the Hera Gallery award ceremony on February 6th, Abby Tober won first place with her ceramic hedgehog. Gabriella Carnavale won second place with a painting entitled Rosie. Gabriella Carnavale also won honorable mention with her drawing piece titled Black and White. Additionally, celebrating Art High Merit Student Artists for the Fall 2002 anthology including Gabriella Carnavale, Aria Carnavale, and Elena Minarik and Juliana Brent. And finally, the Wyland Foundation, bringing people together for clean water and a healthy ocean during Art Challenge, announced its teacher winning and 9 through 12 division, and that is our own Janice Strain. So congratulations to Janice from the high school. She will be awarded a $250 electronic check to buy art supplies from Michael's Arts and Crafts. There's a total of 9 entrants, and she was first. So congratulations to all of our students and our teacher in the art department of high school. Thank you.
Thank you, and I have some announcements to make from the sports season. First of all, I want to thank Mr. Cobain, our athletic director, for stepping up and really doing a great job in putting together a safe athletic season for our students. It was something that so many of us wanted to happen, and he was able to pull it off. And it involved, obviously, a lot of strict protocols about how we deal with the coronavirus, and that is certainly not easy. And so thank you for to him, our coaches, and our student athletes for being very responsible about the way they have handled this. And that, so we got a gymnastics season in. Congratulations to sophomore Olivia Priest, who was, in the events of vault, bars, beam, and floor, is the individual state champion at the, final event for them. Girls track was second overall in the state, their highest indoor finish in many years, with all-star honors for Brooke Thompson and Sadie Soul. Boys basketball finished third in the D1 South. Girls basketball competed as the 8th seed in the D1 playoffs. Girls ice hockey, the Storm, which is a shared team with other local districts, lost in overtime in the state semis to Barrington in Game 3 of the best of 3 series, a heartbreaker for them. Boys ice hockey won in a heartbreaker in their semis against Pilgrim, and then was the state runner-up, and they lost to Cranston West in the finals. Boys and girls swimming both competed and lost in the D1 state quarterfinals to Barrington, and boys track had a 3rd place finish in Class A, which is nothing to sneeze at either. So congratulations to all of them, and again, thank you to everybody for your hard work and for going about it in such a safe way. And it's really nice to see that we have accomplished that season, and we are going forward with more sports in the spring. With I'm not sure if it's a complete spring sports schedule. I'm not sure if wrestling is in, for instance, but there is even a small football season that's going to happen, and other sports traditionally occurring in spring will be happening as well, under again strict protocols for safety and that sort of thing. So we're going forward and we're getting it done. I'm really pleased with the accomplishment here. I also want to take this moment. We have 2 new hires for you tonight, Mr. Blaswald, and these are on item E1 and E2, and I'm going to handle E2 first and ask Mrs. King if she could talk about E1. And so E2 is the approval for the Director of Human Resources contract, and I am really pleased to announce that I'm proposing that Mr. Brian Lally, who is the principal of Whitford Middle School, and who has done an outstanding job in that role, and as the assistant principal before that. He expressed an interest in this position. We were happy to hear about his vision for this. We know he has an excellent reputation in our district for being super organized, a real leader amongst the administrative team, and someone who's got a lot of good ideas about what we can do to improve in our HR functionality. And we feel he is the right person to be put forward for this position tonight. Mrs. King?
Yes, congratulations, Brian. We're very excited to have you in that position. We also tonight have a new hire. As you know, John Horan, our transportation supervisor, is going to be retiring as of the end of June. You know that's bittersweet for me. I've grown to have quite a great working relationship with John. We know he's done a lot in the district. But tonight we are very, very happy to announce that we have a candidate for his position, and she is on this call. Her name is Michelle Hulme, Hulme, and she comes to us from North Attleboro School Department, where she does a very similar job to John Warren. The districts are practically parallel in size, number of students, and we are just really excited. Michelle is prepared to start for us on Monday, April 12th. She's going to work with John until the end of June so that we have a smooth transition. And if she thinks she needs more time with him, John said that he'd be happy to stay. But welcome, Michelle. We're very, very excited for you to start.
Okay, at this point, I'd ask if we could have unanimous consent from the school committee to bring those 2 items up for consideration at this time. Any members have an objection to doing that? Don't hear any objections, and I'm looking for a name, sorry. Just wanna, Zoom doesn't always make it easy to find things. All right, there it is. Okay, so if I could get a motion to approve item E1, which is our transportation supervisor.
So moved.
I have a motion from Ms. Hildebrand, a second from Ms. Hoskins. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No noes. That passes unanimously. Congratulations and welcome on board.
Congratulations, Michelle and Brian.
Well, Brian's not done yet.
Okay. Brian.
Hold on, Brian. So Ms. Hume, congratulations, welcome to the team.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
And so next, I'd ask for a motion to approve item E2, which is the human resources contract.
So moved.
A motion from Ms. Ellinger,
Second.
and a second from Mr. Mather. Any discussion? I will mention, Mr. Lally, that there was some vague mention of voting no because some folks wanted you to stay where you're at. All right, all those in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any noes? Passes unanimously. Now, Mr. Lally, congratulations.
Congratulations, Brian.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to say, Mr. Lally, I have 2 kids at Wickford Middle School, and you will be sorely missed from all your energy and your organization and the turkey trot. I mean, the turkey trot this year was the most amazing thing, and it was fun to drop the kids off and see all the costumes. And so I just want to, Greg, I don't know if he's muted, but yeah, you were a great asset at Wickford, and I'm sure you'll be a great asset on Mary's team. So congratulations.
Thank you. Okay, so with those 2 items, we're all set with presentations and recognitions, Dr. Shea?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Next item is citizens' comments. Just as a reminder in our Zoom world, if you would like to speak, in your participants tab, there's an option to raise your hand. If you do that, I will know that you would like to be recognized. We always ask that you please limit your comments to 3 minutes, just so that we can have time to do our meeting and also that others can have an opportunity to speak. And I'll remind you that while we will listen to anything that you have to say, we don't respond to citizens' comments directly. We'd be happy to answer any other questions or things offline. So is there anyone who would like to be recognized for citizens' comment? I do not see any. Oh, now I do. Okay, so first I see is Kara Martone. I'm going to recognize you here. Hello.
Hi, Greg. Thank you.
Sure.
So my name is Kara Martone. I live at 73 Woodbridge Drive. Thanks for the opportunity to speak tonight. I just have a couple of questions that I hope will be addressed as you go through tonight's discussion. The first one is, with the COVID data in NK and across the state being so good and coupled with the vaccine rollout, in particular advancing the priority for the teachers, do we have a plan for getting our students back in the building this year at the high school level at 100% rather than the 50% that they've been at? At this point, I feel like the kids have been out of their normal high school routine for such a long time, missing all of the benefits of being in the building with their classmates, forging relationships with their teachers. I do feel like it's a huge disservice to the students who have done really a tremendous job to this point, just adjusting and sacrificing and doing everything that they're supposed to be doing just to keep it moving forwards like they have. So I'm wondering, when do we sort of pay it back to them, and can we do that this year? And then secondly, I noticed on the calendar that on the agenda is the approval for next year's calendar. And I was just wondering if we were going back to the NK calendar that we voted on that a couple of years ago, I think, when we took away February break and started, did we start after Labor Day? But we took away February break? I don't know, we had a great calendar in place, and then this year we went with the statewide calendar. I think because it sort of made sense to get all the towns and the districts on the same page. But I was just wondering if we were going back to the NK calendar or not, and if there could be, if we're not, if there could just be a little discussion on that as to why we would not go back to it.
I plan on explaining both of those items, Kara.
Awesome, thank you. All right, that's it, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I see some others here. Let's just see, going in order. Next is Heather Murphy. So I'll recognize you.
Can you guys hear me okay?
We can.
Heather Murphy, 41 Mountain Laurel Way. Good evening. I would like to formally request a sponsor from this committee to put on the agenda a discussion similar to what Kara was talking about bringing our high school students back. Specifically, I think the best course of action would to be at least start with our seniors, who should be back in the building by April 1st. I believe very strongly all of our students should be given a right to be back in the classroom, but I am trying to find a way to kind of come halfway and triage those most in need. All of our high school students have been, holding the burden for this school department in terms of sacrifice. You would not even know my name if I had a 5th grader. In particular, our seniors have the heaviest emotional burden. They have given up, they have loss of hope, and they need all of you more than ever. If you can only see what distance learning looks like in our homes, it's very sad. I am certain that our school nurse could give you some insight into some of the mental health effects it's having on our students. They are striving for a sense of community and belonging to something special. I think that a simple Google search would pull up all of the statistics about mental health problems that have increased dramatically in 13 to 18-year-olds. And I want to start thinking of them. In August, I spoke to this committee about when we had a distance learning model on the table only. I tried to present some science and some, real data to help us make good decisions, and we have proven that science has prevailed. And I wouldn't have come here tonight without doing a little research. I did connect with Dr. Auger about how our COVID numbers are doing, and he has let me know they're very low and almost non-existent. And I also know that most of our kids are in classes of less than 10 students per room. I know there's a lot of barriers, and there's the blessed 6-foot rule, but really that's starting to be disproven. And you'll notice if you look at the CDC's most recent release on page 13 that there's actually a lot of flexibility for that less than 6-foot rule. There's cohort studies come out of Massachusetts just recently that will be published in the Lancet, specifically looking at COVID numbers on 6 versus 3 feet, and there's been no difference. 2 of our districts are doing just that, 3 feet. South Kingstown, Charahoe, all with numbers similar to ours. I spoke to the Educational Command Center and reviewed some of the reopening guidelines, and there is flexibility per district. These are just guidelines. Other districts are recognizing that seniors need to come back. Lincoln has brought them back, and Providence is bringing them back. Recognizing that this was a group of kids in need. They need a sense of belonging, and they need some community. They need something to get through. It's your turn. You all have it in your power to follow science, which is in our favor. But most of all, you have the power to relieve suffering in a group of teens who need your leadership more than ever. You have the power to offer them hope, and you have the ability to offer them humanity.
Thank you. Just want to make sure that you all set with your time? Okay. So next, thank you very much. Next person is Rebecca Campbell. I'll recognize you.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity to talk tonight. Heather, thank you so much. I completely agree with all your statements, and I also have a senior at North Kingstown who also has 3 or 4. She just came back in February. I got on and shared my opinions in August, and I can say that I can really feel your concerns, your pains. These kids are really missing community. They're missing having their seniors in class with them, and I'm pleading for all of you in the school committee to really address this issue. I know East Greenwich is going hard about getting their students back with all the statistics that we have and the metrics we have. What is the number that we need in order to do that? I'm also reaching out in regards to the mandated athletic testing. I've reached out to Dr. Auger as well as Chris Cobain, and the transparency of this testing that has been now mandated for our student athletes is extremely challenging. I think it's an overreach of our athletic director as well as our superintendent. I don't know if the school committee is aware of this, but the Rhode Island Department of Education is not requiring testing. The CDC doesn't advise testing. The American Association of Pediatrics doesn't advise us doing asymptomatic testing on athletes. These athletes have had, and these students have had so much stress to make an athlete test to see if they've been testing positive, creates so much emotional stress for them that I'm not sure you're aware of that, but there are towns such as Warwick, Cranston West, Bayview, LaSalle, I'm not sure about LaSalle, that aren't doing testing. So who is the doctor in our district that we're using that is making this decision to say that in order to keep our athletes safe, we need to be testing? It's a huge violation to me as a parent. I don't think it's been transparent. I have submitted a note from my doctor feeling that my child does not, as an asymptomatic person, does not need to get tested. And the guidelines that we need to follow from the Interscholastic League is 28 pages long for winter sports, and nowhere in that information does it require testing. So why is our district feeling that in order for our athletes to participate, they can overreach the CDC, the Rhode Island Department of Health, the Rhode Island Interscholastic League, the American Association of Pediatrics, to put these athletes under this undue stress, as well as this testing of bioindex testing is not proven or by the FDA that the accuracy rate is very good. So now you're putting athletes into positions of being quarantined on top of everything else they've been through this year. I think it's undue stress and unnecessary. And now our numbers are going lower, and now we no longer can opt out of this. So my formal request is on the meeting on March 23rd that this gets looked at, because now it's getting presented to the community that it's not optional, but that it's mandated. And if we choose not to comply, our athletes are not allowed to participate. So that's a huge concern for me in this community, and I think the transparency needs to be presented that it is not a mandate by the Interscholastic League or the Department of Health. And I think the Department of Health has put a lot of guidelines on us, and this is one of them they have not done. So why as a district do we feel, in order to keep our players safe, we're overreaching this? So that's a huge concern. So I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Next person I see is Kim Lanaway.
Hi there. My name's Kim Lanaway. I live at 47 Sylvan Court. Thank you for your time. I'm going to kind of piggyback on all three of the moms who spoke before me. As a teacher in a neighboring district in South Kingstown, I can tell you that we have 100% of our students in school. Well, I should say 100% of our students that choose to be in school, and we have very similar rates of positivity. We've had several weeks where we're testing over 1,000 students in the district, and either with 3 consecutive weeks of no positives. Today we had 3 positive, or yesterday 3 positive cases, but it is essentially 0. And, I had class today, I had 20 students in front of me. They are not separated by 6 feet, they're separated by about 3 feet. But we know, even, through, Dr. O'Shea's conversations, and again, with us too, this is not spreading in schools. Beyond that, just to kind of, now to jump over to what Rebecca was saying, we've all been doing a lot of reading on the CDC website in terms of the testing, and it's disappointing. It feels like the school and the school administration is just sort of going along with they're not sort of updating what they've looked at. It's like this is what we're doing, and we're just going to stick with it till the end of the year. I think everybody in the state would be disappointed if the new governor just said, hey, things are working pretty good, we're just going to stay here. It's not fair to our kids. We should be moving forward. These tests are not accurate. The CDC has said in the absence of a clinical diagnosis that the test just can't be used accurately. so I say, is the nurse doing a clinical diagnosis? No. These kids are not sick. We're quarantining them. I mean, for God's sakes, the kids that are close contacts are quarantined for 24 days for a while there. That's taking them out of school, that's taking their families out of circulation, parents sometimes out of work. It's excessive. And again, the tests on asymptomatic kids are simply not accurate. So I guess I second what Heather said. Our kids, we should be moving forward, just like the state is. We all were like, yay, there's, they can put more people in a restaurant now. We can have more people at our homes. We've been trying to follow the rules, but here the schools are just stagnant. They're not showing the kids any hope of moving forward. Walmart took their one-way arrows out. Can we get rid of the one-way arrows? We need to show the kids that they're moving toward normal so they have some hope. And we need to get rid of this testing because it's not accurate and it seems like no big deal. But I'll tell you what, twice a week getting a swab up your nose, getting a positive, and then spending 2 weeks at home when you're not sick. I would love to know how many positive kids. Go back, find those 55 kids for the whole year. Find them and ask them if they were sick. And then ask all the other kids that got sent home because they were close contacts if they were sick. I'll tell you what, in my school, they weren't. And so it's just, we need to move forward. I guess that's my overall, point. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, I have Sue Alexander.
It's Bill Alexander, but...
No problem. If you could just state your name and address for the record for us. I forgot to mention that at the beginning.
Yep, my name's Bill Alexander. I live at 211 Pearl Drive. Yep, I just would like to echo some of the comments that have already been made. I really completely agree that the school committee should be, number one job should be from now trying to figure out how to get the high school kids back into the classroom. What the plan that's in place now, it really doesn't work. If you have high school kids or if you have friends who have high school kids, please talk to them. They are disinterested, they're not learning. There's so much benefit. We've talked about all the benefits that are there when they're in-person learning. That's why we have all of the younger kids in person. The data and the science shows that it's not being transmitted. There could be more than 4 kids in a class. They can be 3 feet apart and not 6 feet apart. Look at South Kingstown, look at Charahoe. It's working, and they have all their kids, in the classroom. The teachers are getting vaccinated. The numbers are very low. The doomsday scenario, that was touted by one of the school committee members here before the school year started never occurred. There's no need for these kids to be, distance learning. They should be in the classroom. They need it. They deserve it. Please spend the time doing the research to get them back in school. Thank you.
Thank you. And would be Jacob Cedar.
Good evening, Jacob Cedar, 291 Fletcher Road. As a senior at the high school, I can say that more than anything, every single senior, there's only 2 things we want, and it's a prom and a graduation with everyone together. Just get to see everyone again. These are people I've been going to school with since like the 1st grade, and once the school year ends in June, I may never see any of them again the rest of my life. So I would just like to have maybe a month even, or a quarter with them and have a prom and a graduation, or otherwise I will never experience a high school prom or a high school graduation in my entire life. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Carrie Willett.
Hi, Carrie Willett, 60 Yellowstone Drive. I just want to echo what Heather Murphy said earlier about getting these kids back in school. I am a building sub at GMS. I've been there since September 14th, just about every day, and I will honestly say that there haven't been any problems. I do feel that it's important to get these kids back. I do have a senior, I have a junior, I have a freshman at the high school. I would love to see them going back full time. And I would love to see the seniors get their opportunity to be with their class. I also want to say, in regards to graduation, and I know it's not on the agenda, but I feel it's important to mention here, I believe the principal wanted parents to kind of go through the PTO to give our suggestions. However, since I'm speaking, I just want to say that I know it's important for the kids to be together and they may want a graduation together, but I think more importantly, parents want to see their kids receive their diploma in person. Even if it's not a formal thing, even if it's something outside, I mean, heck, I've done so much for my children over their course of their school years, and it would kill me if I had to watch something virtually. So I am just kind of pleading and putting it out there that parents want to see their children graduate in person. Thank you.
Let's see.
Thank you. Okay, so I don't see any other names for citizens' comments. I want to thank each and every one of you for taking the time to speak to us tonight. And just making sure here. All right, so next we'll move on with our agenda. So, Superintendent's report, Dr. O'Shea.
Sure, thank you. So on the issue of getting people back and getting back to normal, I do have a few things I would like to point out. I agree with all of the comments about how important it is to get everybody back to as much of a normal situation as we can. And I have also prioritized the high school, which is currently in hybrid. I just want to, place a little check mark on, all of this is very relative. And I know that we can point to other local districts that may be having the model that we would wish to have. I could also point to a number of local districts where North Kingstown has been and is far ahead of where they've been. In fact, I've, in my many conversations with the Department of Education, they have mentioned they use North Kingstown as a model for a lot of districts who've been reluctant to go as far as we have. So, but we're working on it. To say that we've been stagnant is just wrong. At the time that we posted this agenda, we did not have an update on travel. We now have an update on travel, which is much more respectful of people's travel plans approaching April break, and is much less likely to result in people quarantining. That's a big change for us. We also have learned that our educators now are starting to get vaccinated. Many of us have made appointments at CVS, and that seems to be going especially well, particularly in respect to how slow things have been going in the early months. Things are really ramping up now. Also, just today, I've been working with the local fire department and the Rhode Island Department of Health, and on this Saturday, there is a vaccination clinic for all of the employees of the North Kingstown School Department and any other educator in North Kingstown, whether they work at a private school or a preschool. So those are big moves. And, everyone's situation is a little bit different. And as I mentioned all along, we're working with the Rhode Island Department of Health. And I respect the CDC, but I also understand that, we've made a commitment right from the beginning to be working with the Rhode Island Department of Health. Right now, I have a concern about the 6-foot number that is in their guidance, and that is what we've been following, and that is why we can have more students at the middle and elementary level because of the pods where the high school doesn't have that. Some of the schools that were mentioned, the kids don't change up as much as our kids do, so there's a lot of mixing of students, and when that happens, the recommendation is to stay with the 6 foot. That also includes on the buses. Every district is different in terms of their capacity to bus students, how many buses they have in their fleet, and, you know, what are the dynamics for each bus run. And we just haven't been able to make those numbers work as it pertains to the high school. Doesn't mean we're not trying. I'm very hopeful. I'm not promising anything, but my hope is that once we get through this round of vaccinations, which most of our educators would be vaccinated by early April, hopefully we'll see state numbers continue to go down, and hopefully we'll see more progress in terms of guidance that perhaps after the April break, we could be looking at more of a full return of students at the high school. I don't know that for sure. It's what I would like to see happen. And, you know, the points that have been made tonight about, you know, low numbers of positive cases, that is true. We've had a low number of positive cases, but it's also true that we've been following these guidelines very rigorously, and that probably is a contributing factor to having so many, such a low number of positive cases. But it doesn't mean it would stay true if we change things up. So, and, you know, I just want you all to know, the decisions I'm making, and I'll speak just for myself, decisions I'm making are made out of the best interest for the health and safety of your children. That's what we care about first. So, if you want to criticize me because I'm not being safe enough and someone gets hurt, that's legitimate. If you want to criticize me because I'm being too safe, I'd rather err on that side. So we're going to take this one step at a time. I am personally meeting with the commissioner tomorrow morning as part of the Superintendent's Association, and I'm personally meeting with Governor McKee on Friday, also as part of the Superintendent's Association. So I'm not the only superintendent in the state that is pressing for some kind of relaxation of the guidelines to do so safely. I will continue to do so, and I share your commitment to trying to get to you know, more of a full inclusion of students on an everyday basis at the high school. I have also signed myself up for a committee that meets tomorrow as well with the Educational Operations Center. That's a center that is run by higher-ups at the Rhode Island Department of Ed and the Rhode Island Department of Health, and it's specifically for planning for schools. Our agenda in those meetings is proms and graduations. And everybody, including me, wants a traditional graduation and as close as we can get to some kind of a prom. But you can just imagine that with, think about your own prom, think about the proms, the 20-something or so that I've chaperoned as an administrator over the years, they don't come with proper social distancing, I'll tell you that. So we have to be, creative in the way we think of how this is going to work. Our adults will be vaccinated, our kids will not be. And it would be a real shame if we come back from a prom and that it's just turned into a super spreader event, and now dozens and dozens of kids cannot go to their graduation because they're quarantining. So I'm worried about that. So, I just want to put all of that in perspective, but I want you to know that I share your concern and that I want to make it more in the traditional mode myself. And if you've been listening in on the meetings that we've had this spring, the budget we presented, we're going with an assumption that we are back to pretty much normal conditions, maybe with students wearing masks, but everybody's in the fall. Now, that depends on a lot of characteristics, working in the right direction. And if we're told from the Department of Health that that's just not safe come September, then we're going to try something different. But it seems like all the indicators are moving in the right direction for now. So, it doesn't mean, if you had asked me on about February 15th last year what I thought was going to happen for graduation, obviously a lot changed after that. And that in ways that I could never imagine. So I just don't know what the future is going to bring. But I just want you to know that I am in the meetings with other superintendents and with all the right people from the governor's office to the Department of Health to the Department of Education to try to, get the conditions in such a way that we have everything that all of you just asked for in citizens' comments. And I will talk about the calendar, but I'm going to do that when it's come up on the agenda. Thank you, Mr. Whitehall.
Thank you. So moving on to our routine items. First, I'd ask for a motion to seal the executive session minutes of the evening, March 9th, 2021. A motion from Ms. Lee.
Second.
And a second from Ms. Hildebrand. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. And I can disclose that no votes were taken in this evening's executive session. For the consent agenda, I'll just point out that we've already approved item E1 and E2. I'm going to exempt items C2 and C4. Any other members have any items they'd like to exempt from the consent agenda? Right, hearing none, if I could have a motion to approve the not already approved and non-exempted consent agenda items.
So moved.
Motion from Ms. Hildebrand. Do I have a second? Second from Mr. Mather. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Exempted items, we have item C2. Can I have a motion to approve item C2? Motion from Ms. Hildebrand.
Second.
Second from Mr. Mather, and this is the executive session minutes of February 24th, 2021. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And I'm going to abstain. I did not attend that meeting.
I need to abstain as well.
Okay, back up, then let's fix the vote. Let's try it again. All those in favor for the February 24th meeting?
Aye.
So Ms. Hildebrand, yes. Ms. Lima, yes. Mr. Mather, yes. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Myself and Ms. Hoskins. That passes. And next, the approval of the business meeting minutes from February 24th, 2021, item C4. If I could have a motion to approve. Motion, Ms. Hildebrand. Second, Mr. Mather. All those in favor?
Aye.
The ayes are Ms. Hildebrand, Ms. Lima, and Mr. Mather. Any opposed? And any abstentions? Myself and Ms. Hoskins. That passes as well. Okay. Next, we have item F, which is the approval of the Office of Family Learning grant. Mrs. King, if you could just speak briefly to that.
Yes, so once again, for the summer squad work the Office of Family Learning has done, National Grid has awarded them a grant of $8,000. So they received this money last year, and National Grid was so impressed by their program and all the great work that they do that they have awarded it to them again this year, and it's in great time frame so that they can really do some good planning for their summer squad, the information that was included, for some learning loss information for our families that really need that kind of support. So we thank National Grid very much. Dr. Ajay will send them a thank you letter, and Office of Family Learning is very excited for this opportunity.
Thank you. If I could get a motion to approve item F.
So moved.
Motion, Mr. Mather. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Ms. Hildebrand. Any discussion? I just want to say thank you to the folks over at the office for, putting in for the grant applications that I know they need to do to get these types of things. And thank you to National Grid for providing the funding. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Item G, if I could get a motion to approve just so we can start talking. Motion from Ms. Hildebrand, do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Mather. Dr. Ajay, I'll hand it off to you.
Okay, I'm assuming that people can see my this calendar. Okay. So this is the calendar tonight that is up for that I am proposing and up for your vote this evening. I would think that this is it is based on a statewide calendar put out by RIDE. This is the second year that they have done that, and I think that they have done some admirable things that I was hoping that they would do. But there are some complications as well, so I'll explain a couple of those points. First, in terms of what they've done that I like, they have organized things so that our professional days, there are 4 professional days that are lined up with the rest of the state. One of them is here on the 14th of March on May 22nd, and those are listed similar to the professional days that occurred this year. They are meant to be a professional day for staff and an asynchronous distance learning day for the kids. The other 2 days that they include are professional days on the 1st and 2nd of September. They were initially conceived by the Department of Ed to also be asynchronous learning for the students. But, you know, I don't think you need to be an expert in school calendars to realize there's a significant problem in holding 2 asynchronous, I love that word, my new favorite word for the year, asynchronous learning day before school's even begun. So a lot of districts have run into this problem. The solution is basically that similar to a lot of the professional days that occurred last year, these will go toward the 180, although they do not include kids coming into school. And we are not going to require them to have some kind of an asynchronous lesson, simply because they will not have met their teacher yet, and many of them will not have a school department issued Chromebook yet. So we're not the only ones doing that, and this is an issue that was brought up by, to the Department of Education. I don't know if they're going to put out any further guidance. They hinted that they might, and if they do, I will definitely come back to you. But just simply taking, you know, putting 2 educational days at the very end of the calendar or adding another 2 up front does not solve this problem, because now your contract with teachers and support staff, that is supposed to have a finite number of days, and we have reached that here, including, you know, the professional days that are added by the state. So what we can't do is extend those contracts. That we'd have to renegotiate that point, and I can guarantee you that's just not going to happen. What could occur is that we forego those 2 professional days on the Wednesday and Thursday, the 1st and 2nd, and have those as school days. So we could do it that way. However, we've been kind of requested, I'm not sure if it's been issued as a governor's executive order, but it certainly has been an order from the commissioner that those are days that are reserved for what can include, you know, statewide activities. So you're doing some professional development activities with teachers from other districts, which is a great idea. I think if they had consulted with superintendents initially, I think the recommendation would be to stay away from those early days, because most districts have their professional days front-loaded like we normally do, to do that already, and to put them, insert them into the school year. But that has not happened, at least not yet. So, but the other things that I like, our Christmas break, our February break, and our April break are the same as every other district. So if you're a person who has kids in one district, but you teach in another district, you don't have to worry about aligning, you know, your child care coverage and that sort of thing, and you will get to take a vacation alongside with your kids when they're not learning. Also on our calendar, you'll notice we end, you know, and Kara mentioned that we had gone away from a February break in the last 5 or 6 years. That was the preference of this community, but we also have a preference to align ourselves with you know, if the state is doing something, we'd like to be alongside that. So I think that would supersede us just saying no to a February break for the reasons that I just pointed out. But even with that, we still accomplished a number of things that our previous surveys of the community wanted us to do. We're starting school, actually K 1 through 9 come to school on the Friday before Labor Day. We just could not make it work without doing that, but normally we would want to start everybody after Labor Day. 10, 11, and 12 would show up on the second day. They would indeed start after Labor Day. And we've been doing that for several years to have the freshmen have the high school to themselves on that first day. The other thing that we like is that school ends on the 16th of June. That's a good thing. We're in the middle of the month and not at the end, which means that the 17th should probably be a day that's in green as well, but those become potential make-up days. I have not made a decision yet on whether to do every snow day as a distance learning day or some of the days be just a traditional snow day. And we've done both this past year, and I've received praise and criticism after each one. So there's definitely a divided community out there about how we would like to do the snow days. But my thinking is that maybe and we can have this discussion probably in the fall before snow starts arriving, and maybe include a survey of the community and include the school committee in the discussion. And one compromise might be that for the first 3 days or so, we do a traditional snow day. But after that, now we're getting into later June. So anything after, a certain number, say 2, 3, we go to a distance learning day if we need it after a certain point. There are other factors involved too. We say snow days, but I've closed school multiple times for hurricanes, for major rainstorms, wind, and specific schools, one at a time, sometimes have had, transformer issues or, so sometimes it's just one school that gets a cancellation day due to something that is just not snow. So you have to kind of be careful about, how we proceed. What we're trying to avoid is obviously getting to July 1st, and obviously people feel more comfortable finishing school by mid-June instead of late June. So right now we have that, and I feel good about where we have landed. I also want to note that we have, I know a number of you can tell me that if you choose, to observe, say, a Jewish holiday like Rosh Hashanah, that the district is supposed to support your child, that they can attend whatever they need to attend to and not come to school on that day and not be penalized. But we don't really have that written in any school department policy, not that I am aware of. And so every principal has been kind of forced to kind of put that together on their own and notify their people on their own about what that means. What I have done is work with our principals, put together this holiday observance notice at the bottom of the page, and it will, from here on in, as far as I can see, go on our calendars so that people know exactly what is supposed to happen if you decide to, observe a holiday. And it basically says that, for those who notify the school of a holiday observance, absences are excused for the day and extracurricular activities and will not be counted against perfect attendance awards. Students will be allowed with a reasonable amount of time. That can be different for the different project involved. If it's a homework assignment, it's one thing. If it's a major paper or a test, it could be something else. Amount of time to reschedule any assessments, homework, or project deadlines with their teacher. So, it's hard to say, to put one set of, it's always going to be one day extra or something like that. I think it's a good idea. Have the discussion with your teacher, let them know what you're doing, and we will work with you. No problem. So those are the factors going into this year's calendar. I am asking for you to approve this calendar. We are very happy. One last thing, in that the additional PD days that are added mean that North Kingstown this year would have 8 professional days. And normally we would have 4. So, those days come into play for us with the ride days as well. So that's going to help us because we have big initiatives. I don't know if Dr. Mansiri would like to talk about that a little bit, but we have a lot going on in terms of curriculum development in North Kingstown right now, and we are going to need a lot of professional time to make that happen.
I don't need to talk about the curriculum necessarily right now, I just want to make sure that we note, unfortunately, I just saw that, April 15th is not Good Friday, and we have it in there as Good Friday, so I want to,
Oh, okay, I'll make that
Greg,
adjustment.
I don't know how you do that, but.
We will just, ooh, did we lose, looks.
I think Jake is fine.
I just brought him back in, sorry. Yeah, so what we can do is, we can just do, we'll just make that note and approve it with that change. So when is Good Friday?
Well, it's the.
On my calendar on April 2022,
Oh, I'm sorry, I was thinking it was this
2022.
year.
So we're good.
Oh, I'm so sorry, I'm so
Okay.
sorry.
April 15th this year, next year.
Okay.
We're all set.
We're all
Can I
set.
Can I ask two questions? So the first one is, so the January 24th is marked as a PD day, which is, so that's not an asynchronous day for the kids. Is that right?
That is
Because
not.
the ones are not, right?
So that's just a day off for them.
That is considered one of our days.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a day off, but they don't have to.
And we have a couple of unique features, like on November 2nd is a day that the rest of the state has school, but in our contract, that is parent-teacher conference day. So we don't have school on that day, and so there are a couple of like minor adjustments in regards to that.
Okay, and then the second one is, I think you said the last day of school is the 16th of June, and that's in
Yeah.
red. Wouldn't that Friday also potentially be a makeup day for a
Yeah,
student?
I mentioned the 17th should also be colored green as well,
Okay.
because that would be the first makeup day, obviously.
Yep, okay.
We can make that adjustment.
Any other questions? Okay, I just want to make the point, Dr. Jay, thank you for your hard work on this. For anybody, on the committee or sitting at home who looks at this and says, oh, yeah, well, you could do this or you could do, yeah. As soon as you actually start to try to do that, it's the butterfly effect. Is it, you move this one thing and all of a sudden something on the other side suddenly just jumped a week or days, or it messes things up. So it's very, very difficult to get everything to work, and there's always imperfections and quirks to these calendars. So thank you for your hard work in trying to accommodate as many of the, different, things that come into play and different opinions and options and needs, all is rolled into one big document that's pretty comprehensive here, so thank you. So we do have a motion and a second, and I know Dr. J, you weren't the only one who worked on that, so thank you everyone who did. We have a motion and a second.
I do want to give a shout out to my administrative assistant, Ibis Berganza. I think she did about 300 or 400 different edits of this document, and I can't thank her enough for her patience. I'm surprised she's actually still with us after this last 2 weeks.
Can I ask one question? I apologize, my Zoom crashed, so I might have missed a couple of minutes there. The January 20, the PD day in January that Lisa had just mentioned, is there a reason that couldn't become an asynchronous learning day so that everybody could start after Labor Day?
Oh boy.
And again, I'm sorry for not pointing that out earlier.
Yeah.
I don't know what the complications are in making it asynchronous, so that we have that.
I think we made a decision, Phil, based upon the letter that we received.
Yeah. I would ask that, Mr. Mather, we approve it as is, but I will go back and look at that. And one way or another, I will let you know what would happen, and if we have to, we'll come back to you next meeting.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion or questions? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so next, sorry, my Zoom just went weird for a second. Okay, moving on to unfinished business. Anything on the 2021 school budget?
No,
Okay, anything on the 2021-22 school budget?
no,
The IP existing bond or future bonds?
nope,
And then, no other new business, so reports, we have, just a school committee report on the purchasing, gas purchasing contract and quarterly staffing information. Any questions from the members on any of those reports? If not, we have reached the end of our agenda, and I would ask for a motion to adjourn. I have a motion from Ms. Hildebrand, and a second from Ms. Lima. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. We are adjourned. Thank you very much for everyone for attending, and have